Sorry, press record. And I'm trying to push the chair back, and everybody's seeing me go. There we go. Oh, hang on. Now my microphone might press start.
And
on this
is how we start the show.
I'll bugger it. We'll just go with it. How are you guys?
Hey, we're doing good.
Busy?
We're doing pretty good. I mean, nothing different with the way how we start our stuff. I feel like I'm hot.
Anyway, I thought we'd just jump straight into it tonight. No plan for this one, so we're just going to see how it all comes out. But the reason why, now we have a set time when we record every week, and give or take a few minutes. Now these two were ready. I was ready beforehand, but these guys were ready to go, and I didn't bring them in because I've just had a phone call from a friend that I haven't seen in a long, long time. He's got some paranormal stuff happening at his house.
It was the dog.
Hey?
It was the dog.
No, he doesn't have animals at the house. So this, some of the stuff that he was describing is stuff that we all know about. So what I thought we'd talk about is residential cases and what kind of cases people have witnessed or been involved in, and what kind of activity, as in paranormal activity, happens on these cases. So have you guys dealt with residentials before?
Oh, man, the last time I dealt with a residential, it's actually the most recent was almost 2 years ago. God damn, it's been almost 2 years.
Well, you got to remember with residential cases, mate, they come when they come. That it's not like you can just go out and book one for each week.
That'd be nice.
No. I'm talking about the one that we may not say the name of.
Pineapples.
Is that considered? Yeah, that's considered residential because they
I
still
suppose,
Is it still a I know it's a residential house, but it's a business.
they're running it as a business, but
Yeah, it's a fine line between pleasure and pineapple.
well, yeah, there's a big difference between wanting help and then just wanting to cash in on it. So yeah. But no, he's had quite a few issues going on there, and I can't name names or go into details or anything like that because obviously it's very fresh, and we'll be catching up with him over the weekend to see what's going on. But he was even contacted from his children's teachers because they're saying some strange things about what's going on at the house. I'm not, not strange like that, but as in monsters and things like that at the house. So we'll be going in over the weekend.
Here's one question. How far from a ley line is it?
I don't know. I haven't actually looked that far into it yet because he hasn't sent me his address. Like I said, it's been quite a while since I've caught up with him. And
for some reason, it was just one of the first things that came into my head.
Well, he's a firm non-believer in the paranormal, so for the fact that he's actually reached out to me, it's something that's got to be looked into. And he knows what we do, so what I do.
I haven't carried out a full residential case per se, but I've had documentation done for people that I've done, and nothing came of it. And it's the same thing. You look at ley lines, geographical location, what the land was previous to housing being established there.
Well, what's interesting about this one is it is out in that sort of Mundajong, Jarradale, Serpentine area, and Pinjarra's out there.
Native land. So
there's a lot of rich history out there. So it's definitely something more to look into. Now, one of the things he did say to us was because he's on acreage out there. He's got a few acres out there. And when they were out, they were doing some tidying up of the land, and they found this what looked like a rubbish pit, and when they dug it up, when they opened it, it was like a hole, and things had just been thrown in and filled it. And they went through all of that, and they found one specific item in there, and that is where it appears to have started from. Now,
was it removed or left?
It was left on the land, but they took it out of the hole, and this is what we believe is from the little bit of a conversation that we've had
back
recently. Yeah, well, they did. The problem is, obviously, because they don't believe in this sort of stuff, they looked on the internet for what to do. And, you're never going to get anything decent by Googling how to stop a ghost. And,
Ghostbusters.
So they have done what Google told them to do, or what people on Google had told them to do.
Buy a Ouija board.
obviously, surprise.
I'm sorry, but helped. I have to actually Google this.
Step one, buy a Ouija board. Step 2, tell it to go away. Step 3, throw board in the bin without closing it. Done.
Funny enough, he turned around and goes, "So should we be getting a Ouija board now?" And I was like,
"No."
I think he was joking, and he knew that that's not the case. But yeah,
you might as well get a Monopoly board.
Stuff. I mean,
you may as well get a Monopoly board.
Honestly, I mean, aside from what I did a couple of years back, do you guys know of the last time I did a residential was? Shh. Where did you guys go? You guys just disappeared.
I'm over here.
We're still here. It's all right. I can still see you, so keep going.
Okay. No, it was way before I even thought about starting a team, let's say, well over a decade ago. So usually, when we are contacted by someone in the house, we ask questions like, while living in your house, did you experience anything from the moment you moved, or did it start at a certain point? Depending on then, we go on to the next. If they did live in the house forever and nothing happened until now, what changed? But we also have to rely, just like doctors in a way, we have to rely if they're actually telling the truth, because I've come across people and stories on how they are sometimes withholding certain information that is crucial, like, maybe as a joke using a Ouija board.
Mm-hmm.
And so on and so forth. So, it's knowing that they removed something, or even doing some sort of renovation to a house could spark some stuff. But they never experienced anything before that. Because regardless, this thing was still on property.
Well, the funny thing about it is, like he said everything was good, everything was fantastic, but since grabbing this thing and since putting it back, they've had footsteps around the house. Now, he actually thought it was his kids, and he'd get up and say, "Look, get back to bed," and they were sound asleep, so whatever it was, he goes, but these kids' footsteps don't always sound like kids' footsteps. Sometimes they sound a bit bigger and a bit heavier than that. And then he described something very much what you guys and I would call the old hag syndrome, things like that. And there's a few other things that have been going on as well, doors getting slammed and bits and pieces. So there's definite poltergeist type activity there, but I want to get a better idea of what's actually going on. So we will be going out. Is he keeping a diary? Not yet.
So
we'll be catching up with him this weekend. It's only happening. It's not happening every night, but they're saying between sort of 2 and 3 times a week. This
witching hour.
Well, we've got a bit of a storm coming in here. It happens at night time predominantly, even though they can still feel the lingering of there's something not quite right during the day.
It'll be worth walking around the house with a thermometer.
Well, I'm going to be taking some gear around, and I'll be taking the thermal through and seeing if the thermal can pick any points up.
Worst comes to worst, I've got a link here for you, Gary. It's written by this phenomenal person. It's called Ghost Hunting for Dummies, and it's got Zach Baggins on the cover going like this.
I hope it wasn't one of his bloody posts that they read, because...
but no, if you do type into Google, however, how to get rid of ghosts, and actually the AI overview that pops up actually is very...
decently
pushing the correct. It's actually pushing the correct way. Cleansing and protection, smudging sounds with bells, spiritual practices. Then it's addressing the ghost directly, addressing fear and anxiety. Like it's got a full list of what you can go through.
But so you and I both know. Well, you all know that even if you have got a list of the right things to do, there's still a wrong way to do them.
100%.
Oh,
and sure. They even got a prayer off the internet, and you've got to be careful what. Yeah,
like it says here, smudging, burning sage, lavender incense could help. Yeah, well, if you don't do it right, you burn your house down.
Yeah,
sound you just hear ringing in your ears.
I'm just curious on what did he actually Google then, because
it's actually pretty much bang on.
I don't know.
Especially for it to go into addressing fear and anxiety, understanding fear, identifying your source of fear, changing irrational thoughts and beliefs about ghosts, imagination, recognize imagine can amplify fears. and work actively to calm your mind. Focus on present, and remember ghosts are generally believed to be a non-threatening and living focus in the present moment for your own safety.
I think the key word, and again, that they know nothing about this kind of thing. They were non-believers, so you have to excuse the terminology. But she said how to get rid of a demon or a demonic entity. And
see,
while
like,
I'm not sure, I don't think that's probably what it is. Whatever it is trying to do, it is trying to put a wedge between them.
Okay.
Now you're on the track.
Nope. I would not do this. Claim authority in Christ. Invite God's presence. Strengthen faith and love. Pray and fasting. Call on the name of Jesus. Use scripture. Seek professional help.
See that?
Why would you look? I'm not a religious person at all. There's a higher power. Don't know what it is, but why would you call a ghost to get rid of a ghost?
You're just inviting something else in to get,
And how many things say there's something that they're not?
Yeah. That's where I'm going to with this, because they were saying about how it sounds like kids' footsteps, and then it's not. I said, yeah, well,
but how many
we all know certain things can try and disarm somebody by presenting themselves as a child.
I'll say how many times on in investigations.
But not really with footsteps. It's usually with voices or letting them know.
It'll be really anything that works.
See, we had one that we went with Gary, and identified as a child that was 12 years old.
But how did he identify it? By saying it?
Through the box and the dowsing rods.
Yeah.
Then turned out through further questioning without using dowsing rods and EMF meters that she was an elderly lady that enjoyed her life more at that stage of her time, and that's how she wanted to remember.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. That's really
But we've had that once or twice.
No, what I was trying to say is that usually with just footsteps is, because it could be, we're talking about footsteps. You can't really identify things by footsteps.
You can.
You could identify what they're wearing.
No, I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about a child footsteps. Even if they're walking heavy, it's still only going to be light. Whereas an adult, even if they're trying to be on twinkle toes, there's still a lot more weight going down.
I can guarantee you I can walk as quiet as my daughter, and she's
for sure
quiet, yeah. But the creaks and
almost 300 pounds.
It's just to affiliate. This is an old house with floorboards and stuff like that. So I can tell you, 100 kilo or a 50 kilo adult opposed to a 10, 15 kilo kid. No matter how light you are, that's still the same weight going down on those boards. So there is going to be a difference in the sound.
Unless you're Muhammad Ali.
Safe to say that, due to these guys being not believers, it's something that I constantly say on my reaction videos, when I'm trying to help, not everything is a demon.
No.
Just because
most
the door
things
closes or I always say, that people fear what they don't understand.
Yeah.
So they're going to jump into the conclusion that is the worst thing possible.
Exactly. And I think that's what's happening here. I don't think it's anywhere near as bad as what they're thinking. But I think what they've done is they've gone straight to the worst case scenario. We're going to attack that because it'll take care of anything that's not as bad. And that's not how it works.
Look, I've just found the 6 most simple steps to get rid of a demon. Rule out non-demonic causes first. Burn sage to clear out demons. Say a prayer to get rid of the demons. Number 4 is my favorite. Bang pots and pans to scare away the demons in your home. 5, sprinkle holy water around your home. And 6, call a professional to help you get rid of the demons. Like, if it doesn't work by step 4, just move out.
That should have been number 1 before you start clanging your pots and pans.
Man,
wow.
One, seek help before you go to your self-help type things. And that's for anybody out there, if you've got something going on, seek help, whether it be from your local paranormal team or from your local church. Don't attack it by yourself first up, because if you don't know what you're talking about, you could make things 10 times worse or more.
Yeah.
Are they a smoker, these people?
He was, yeah. I don't know if he still is.
Well, apparently, risk factors and disease lurk everywhere, and the demons lie in cigarette packets. That's not how to get rid of demons, and it's come up saying they crash behind your dinner tables, they hide in your cigarette packets.
Oh my God, man.
What is wrong with people?
I'm sorry, but I'm glad that I do what I do sometimes, putting up these, because I started this new thing that I read off stories off Reddit. Yeah, man. The people are just so, they follow a certain, and with Hollywood, forget about it, portraying that basically every scenario is a freaking crazy thing. So yeah, like, raising awareness. But one of the things that I do is that there's a paranormal team, but do a little bit of research. I mean, don't just go with your first pick. Like, do a little bit of research. Every paranormal team at least has a Facebook page. Like, do a little bit of research. Man. Don't be like, oh, look, these fulana, they're a paranormal research. I just noticed I said that in Spanish, fulana.
That's why I laughed.
Joe Schmo and Jane Foster, whatever. Yeah, because not everybody knows what they're doing. They probably will follow Zach Bagans' Ghost Hunting for Dummies.
Well, and yeah, you got to do your homework on the teams as well, because you can have a reputable team that are doing things the right way. Then, as Fernando said, you can have your Zach Baggins wannabes, and then you've got your absolute loons who are just out to cause as much havoc as they can, catch something on camera so they can put it on the YouTube channel and walk away and leave people 10 times worse off than they did when they walked in.
Oh, yeah.
And then you've got the other people. I've had this conversation before where here in Perth there is one team, which I've mentioned several times, that actually have a price list on their they charge price list. If you want to, first thing we do, like I said, we'll have the initial contact, then we'll go through a few phone calls before we go out to site. We have a regimented system that we follow, and even a phone call with these guys, or even like what we're doing now, where we're talking to each other across the internet, they have a charge associated with that per every 15.
Yeah, that's wild.
And that's before you even go out on site and you talk about clearing. And these guys have charges for clearing, and then some of their rates go up well over $500-600 to go out and visit somebody on site.
Well, let me be the first to say, for anybody watching this podcast looking for help, paranormal teams that are charging a fee, they're not in it to help you. No. They're in it to make money.
Yep.
Because the way I see it, and yeah, regardless of how society views paranormal, whether or not it's hocus pocus or the real deal, it's, Joe Frankie said it best. I just can't recall the way he said it, but this for us is not an occupation. It is and the other word I just can't remember, but
vocation.
I see, yes, thank you. So I see us being like, police officers. Detectives. Like, we're not paying them. I mean, our tax paying money is, but we're not paying, we're not getting charged, we're not charging, they're not paying directly. So we go in with what we do and with what we have and try and help.
Yeah, well, we never charge. That's one thing right from day dot. I've said we won't be charging for people who need help, because they need help, and if they're that desperate that they're searching the web to find somebody who can help them, then you got to help them. And I remember we helped a family out, actually not far from you, up in Wanneroo there, and she originally contacted. Well, she put a post up on our page asking if we could help, and I didn't see it for a couple of days. But somebody, I don't know if she'd put it up on a few different pages or whatever, but another group said yes, we'll help, and there was a charge to go out, and there was a charge for fuel and stuff like that.
Absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, now Jeremy can tell you now that we are at the absolute opposite end of the metropolitan area to Wanneroo.
So we have to.
Like an hour and 20-minute drive, and we weren't even going to charge them for petrol money or anything like that.
You don't.
And we went out there and we were able to pretty much clear this one up in one visit, surprisingly. And now it wasn't clearing a house. What it was, the family were very concerned of it was a mother and her two children. Well, they're not children, they're both adults, but it was the two boys that were with her, and then obviously one of the boys' girlfriends spends a lot of time there, and they've all witnessed these things. Now, we used a few different techniques, and we were able to get a couple of names that came out, and they came out through us, and she just twigged, bang. She knew exactly who it was. And we said, well, you need to acknowledge this person. It's not a bad person. It was a family member. And more than anything, it was a matter of the acknowledgement that they're still around. So they did that. And I've had messages from her saying that everything has been fantastic ever since. They still get a little bit around, but it's like this family member, who's a close family member, letting them know that they're still around, and then they acknowledge that they're there, and that's it. It settles. And yeah, everything has gone on great since then. So it's nice to be able to help people out. Some are a lot easier than others to deal with, but you should never be charging. If you start in your own team up and you start with a price list,
you're starting at the wrong point.
Everything is wrong right from the start.
Yep.
I would definitely not trust this Google stuff. I've been clicking and looking while he's been talking, and
no, because you know what? Let's just say you come up.
It's like put salt in a spray bottle filled with water, mist in air in every room, and place a thin line of sea salt at your front and home's entrance. Hang some lemons up. It will help purify the area.
What are they trying to get rid of? Roaches?
I've heard of lemons before. The funny thing about
it literally looks like someone has played Phasmophobia and gone, this is what you do. I'm serious. We'll get the big bag of table salt and we'll just put it everywhere.
But one of the things they say about lemons and everything, they say you put lemons up and it is a cleansing thing and it will help. Now, I've heard that. But
your house smells great.
Yeah, but what happens is they turn around and say, but if the lemon goes rotten, it means it's still around.
Yeah,
it's very powerful.
But fruit goes bad anyway.
What happens? Yeah, what happens to a lemon? It goes off.
Put your finger in your nose. If it comes out clean, it's gone.
Yeah, there was a case that we did years ago, and we actually had a priest involved, Father Barry May. He came into this one, and there was a couple of women living in this house, and the kids were there and everything, and the doors, they've got the security doors with the bolts that go all the way up to the ceiling, and they were getting opened in the middle of the night, and the kid was found outside on the other side of a closed pool fence right next to the pool. And the kid was only about 4 years old. There's no way he can reach 2 meters up to unlock the door at the top. Then there's no way he can climb over a pool fence, which is locked, to be on the other side of the pool. And then the kicker for that was when we did our initial investigation, it was maybe the Tuesday night, they had this lemon tree, and I think I've said this story before, but it was jam-packed full of the most beautiful-looking lemons. They actually said, can you take some? Because we've got way too many, And they were fantastic, really bright, really good. We went back on the Thursday night. There wasn't a lemon left on the tree. Everything that was on the floor looked like it had been there for weeks or months, rotten, gone off, and everything in 2 days. That is not natural. Even if they went and plucked everything off that tree, there's no way they are disintegrating that quickly.
That's why you weed on lemon trees.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and, basically, like if you're dealing with a regular spirit, it's fine. But let's just say, rare case scenario, you're dealing with something inhuman. It wouldn't really... No, let me not say it like that. We would have to identify it before even bringing religion into it.
Yes.
Because what if it's not Catholic and it's something else?
What if it's an atheist spirit?
Well, it's all about...
they just bring in a tree like a book with a bunch of...
This is one thing, right? This is one thing that has been brought up in conversation before, that religion is all... When you're trying to clear a house and you bring religion into it, it's not about the entity. It's about the faith in the family that need the help. You bring a priest in, they start doing the right and saying all the stuff that they say. It fills the family full of hope, knowing that something's happening about it. That positive energy is what ultimately weakens the entity. So it doesn't matter what religion, what faith, whether you're New Age hippie, whether you're
Krishna,
anything, any of those kind of things, the right people will bring your vibration up, your luminosity up, whatever term you want to use. And that's what ultimately helps. So if you've got a rabbi going to talk to a Muslim family, they're not going to have any faith in what he's got to say. So it's not going to help them. As a result, the entity is still going to be doing its thing. You know what I mean? And you all know my thoughts on religion and the paranormal. They are two completely different things. One's about control and the other thing's just what we're studying.
Spirituality and religion are two different things.
Yes, 1,000%.
That's an interesting way to put it. I've never actually thought about it like this.
It is. Religion is got nothing to do with spirituality.
Of course.
What do you mean with Gary saying lifting the spirits?
To make the spirit
solidarity.
Well, the family stronger, which would make the entity weaker. I've never actually thought about it like this because...
Let me put it into another way that might make it easier for you to get your head around, right? Go back to this lemon tree that we're talking about, okay?
Yeah.
If your energy levels are high, that puts you higher up the tree, right? Now, demons, they work off low energy. They thrive on low, heavy energy. So they're down at the bottom of the tree. They can't reach the top. So you're safe if you're at the top. What they do is create a situation which brings your vibe, your whatever, down to a point where it can get its mitts into you. So it's the low-hanging fruit on the tree that's the worry. So if you can get your vibration up, you're lifting yourself out of the reach of a demon or any other kind of entity. That's the easiest way to put it.
No, for sure. I understand that aspect, but let's just say especially with you guys, that you guys been part of exorcism, right?
I haven't. Gary has.
3 different exorcisms I've been involved with.
I don't like exercising that much.
From everything, because I've never been a part of it, but from, I do like a lot of, I'm sorry to say this, I just realized I misspelled my name, but
I've just noticed that strangers minces.
I'm sorry.
Look, while we're laughing, we're going to need a demon counter for Gary of how many times he said demon in this episode.
Right.
It's a word that I don't like, you know that.
Exactly my point.
No, but I've seen many different, even doing research and stuff, and I've noticed that, for example, if the entity doesn't believe in a certain religion, it won't work no matter what you use. For example, if the family is Catholic,
it's not the entity.
That's like saying, is a dog in Spain? Do they understand Spanish? Or do they speak English as well?
What?
I'm just confused.
I mean,
but who's to say that the entity actually does believe a certain spirituality or belief system? What if that they were a certain group, Catholic, Protestant, Christian, whatever?
Nope.
But when they've died, they've realised that it's not really there; they're just hanging around in limbo.
Nope.
It's got nothing to do with that. It's all on the living's.
The entity is the entity. There is no religion to it. There is no name to it. Man gives it names. Man puts it into its religion.
I see, yeah.
Everything is arranged by man, but the entity is the entity. It doesn't care about what you believe or don't believe. It just wants to get the reaction that it wants to get out of you.
We are just a vessel.
Because religion is basically a human belief, not a human. Yeah. Okay, I gotcha.
Then how do they know what time
the witching hour is?
I
learned something today. Thanks, Gary.
Time is a man-made construct.
Time is a man-made construct, yes.
So how do they know when witching hour is?
They don't. They just do their usual.
They just wing it.
No. They just do what they do all the time. They might be on the theoretical clock. They do what they do. We're the ones that work out that's happening at 3 o'clock in the morning or 3:07 in the morning or whatever the case may be. We're the ones that are putting that to it. We're the ones that have created religion. We're the ones that have created these stories. We're the ones that have created all these things. The entity is the entity. Full stop.
Yes.
Nothing more, nothing less. It is what it is, and it does what it does. We're the ones that make the mountains out of the molehills with these things. We're the ones that try to work out how to deal with it. We're the ones as in us, we're the ones that are trying to work out what the entity is and where it came from. But a lot of families just don't want to deal with it. And a lot of people can't. A lot of it goes down to mental health or issues or any one of 1,000 other things, you know. And that's not it. Anyway, we're out of time.
I feel sorry for the people that I'm going to haunt because, hey, I just do what I do because I do what I do because it pisses people off.
Phew. Anyway, on that, it is time for us to go. This was straight off the cuff, and it wasn't too bad, actually. So thank you, guys.
Have a good night, strangers.
Just in case, just for future purposes, you could fix your name as we record. I fixed it.
Yeah, I've just seen that Strangers Minces is gone.
But you know what the difference is? We didn't spell our name wrong in the first place.
It was the entity.
On that, take it easy, guys.
Bye.
Later.